All right, Jose Bautista has a lot of baggage. Some of it, well, no, let's face it, baggage both ways, good and bad. And, I don't think that's telling tales out of school. And I know the fans or Jose Bautista fans are tired of hearing that. But, the fact of the matter is he is, shall we say, a challenging personality. How do you think this move will be greeted in the clubhouse and in the manager's office?
I don't think it's going to be a problem at all. I think guys will probably be excited about it at this point because, they weren't going to do better than Jose Bautista, and I've spoken to quite a few executives who think that Jose Bautista has a really big year in him coming up, and if you get that Jose Bautista who can really dominate the game, even if he's just slightly better than what he was last year. You're getting an impact guy. And you can't challenge that production. And this is a group that is in its win now window. They need his production, and so I think they're going to be happy because I don't think there are a lot of guys who are going to be able to give you what Jose should be able to deliver in 2017.
Let me throw this out there. We know that at least in some of the early discussions JLU had with teams, that one of his selling points was that Jose would be willing to maybe move out of the outfield, not just DH, but perhaps play a bit of first base, but perhaps play a little bit of third base. They talked to at least a couple of National League teams about that. And yeah, I don't know if I'd say they tried to market him as kind of a Ben Zobrist type player because they don't exactly profile the same. But the idea was that you would be getting a guy who didn't absolutely need to be your right fielder on an everyday basis, that perhaps he would be amenable to moving. So I look at the Blue Jays right now, look at their first base situation. I think it's safe to say Kenrys Morales is the everyday DH. Shi, do you see any way at all that Jose Bautista ends up being, let's say, the everyday first baseman in this team, and that Steve Pearce goes to the outfield, or that there is somebody else in the outfield? And I understand for that to happen, you would probably have to put a deal together for Justin Smoke.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of moving parts that have to happen there, and really the need right now is in the outfield. It's not so much at first base, and who's taking all those at bats in the outfield, right? So I can see some sort of combination of Pearce, Carrera, Upton in left field, and then Bautista in right, maybe along with Kevin Pillar, and then Pearce slotting in at first base with Justin Smoke. So I think that's probably the most likely scenario. Once you get beyond next year, if it is a 2-year deal that he's back for, I think at that point you can certainly start examining different options. But the other thing to keep in mind is that Steve Pearce is coming off surgery on his elbow, and how much is he going to be able to throw? Is it going to be too much to ask for him to play the outfield on an everyday basis? And that certainly has to factor into your roster configuration.
Better team now than they were at the end of the season?
I don't know that. Certainly they're different, and having some balance in the middle of the lineup in Kenrys Morales will help. And I had an interesting chat with Russell Martin Saturday at the Baseball Canada banquet, and he was making the point that it's really hard to hit 30 home runs in Kansas City. And Morales has played his whole career in bigger ballparks in AL West and AL Central. And he was wondering how much, hitting in the American League East, not just at the Rogers Center, but also in all the other AL East parks, would spike his numbers. And so having a left-hander in there to balance out the lineup, there's some more flexibility with Pearce. I don't know. It's an interesting team, and a lot, I think, ultimately depends on whether there's still some upside in Aaron Sanchez and Marcus Stroman. And if those two guys take a step forward, then they could end up a better team than they were last year.